See, today we're going to start on Chavtes Amud Aleph, starting from Amalei Rav Papa L'Rava. Rav Papa is a student of Rava. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. It's for learning Hashem. Let's go. Okay, and Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, everyone's confused.
Okay. Okay, for Shlema, for my father, and for Naftali. Okay, we left off like in the middle of a whole discussion over here. There's two psukim. There's a pasuk in Parshas Tzav, and there's another pasuk in Parshas Kadeshim. Very good. And both of them basically say the same thing, which is Im Hayachal Yachal Maseches Zavachim Daf Bayom Ashlishi Im Yachal Bayom Ashlishi Pigelhu Lo Yiratze, whatever, something like that. So the longer pasuk was in Parshas Tzav. Rava came along and told us that from the pasuk in Parshas Tzav, I get all the halachas. I get the halacha of chutzlus manai, which makes it pigel. I also have the halacha of chutzlum kaimai, which does not make it pigel. And the oddity is that which word in that pasuk tells me chutzlum kaimai? Pigel. Exactly the one that doesn't make it pigel is the word that's here. Okay, whatever the case is. And then I learn that I don't get, I only get, there's only karis by one of them because it says mimenu. Karis is v'nefesh eichelas mimenu, from it. Only from it, but not from the other. Not only from one, not from two. So how do I know that there's karis? It doesn't even say karis in that pasuk. So then the Rabbi concluded that you get from Gzer Shava from Neisar. It says Neisar, from what's actually left over, then over there's kares in Nichrasa that teaches me that there's also kares by thoughts of chutzlus mani out of the allotted time. It's clear? Okay. Amalei of Papa L'Rava, so all of that was a teaching of Rava. Papa says to Rava, L'didach, according to you, Shlishi the Parshas Kadeshim to you, my derash today. What do you do with the word Shlishi from Parshas Kadeshim? You don't need to say Shlishi Bayom Shlishi. Obviously, we're talking about over there Neisar, and I just have to say Shlishi whenever it is. If you eat it after it's time. So he says, "Ahumi Bailei Lamakim Shemesh Shalish." There, it's coming to teach me that Chutzlam Kaimai would only be if it's chutzlam kaimai in a place that has the three following things. Dam babas beimur. Now, this is a little confusing. We're talking about where he intends to eat it out of the place. Out of the place, meaning either out of the azara, if it's a sprinkle the blood out of the azara, let's say, or to sprinkle or to eat it out of the azara if it's kachikachim, or if it's kachikam to eat it out of Yerushalayim. Right, and ubeimurim, and where he's going to offer it also, where to burn it. Now, why is that considered a place that has all of those options out of Yerushalayim? Because in the time of Heter Bama, it's at the time when you didn't have to bring on the Mizbeach, right? Because you could have brought a carbon anywhere in between before the Beis Mikdash was built, you could have brought it anywhere. Now, so then if you can bring it anywhere, so then why are you telling me? Why is this a limud b'chal? It's everywhere. There's no exclusion.
Right.
So it's coming to exclude the heichal itself. Because you can't bring the emurim in the heichal. You can't eat the basar in the heichal. So because you don't have that, so that's considered a place where that would not be considered chusam kaimeh. Chusam kaimeh is only if you have possibility of eating it there as well. Yeah, you follow? The dam basar b'imur. The Gemara says typically mikra kama. Why do I need the pasuk in Kadeshim Tiyu? Right, I could get it from Tzav. It says over there Shlishi, which tells me Mishulish. Im hayachal yachal, im hayachal yachal midafkir rachmana b'lashem. The fact,
by the way,
im hayachal yachal, right? So. The only word that's easy to translate is the ye'achel. Ye'achel. It will be eaten. It will be eaten, right? And heyachol is that word that doesn't have any time on it. Heyachol. So, what's it called? An infinitive. So, no, they're not spelled the same. They don't. They have the same root, but it's not the same conjugation. So, I have that. I have shlishi in the first pasuk as well, so you can learn it from there. Rashi says, I said this over in front of Rav Masna, maybe Rav Matana. Amrlei, he said to me, Limi Hasam, if I had wanted to learn from the first pasuk of Parashat Tzav, from the word shlishi, Havamin, I would have thought shlishi prat, pigol is klal, nasa klal meisav ala prat, v'shrabasham rekem is kamashmalan. You see, the word shlishi is limiting. The word pigol, which teaches me chutz kaimai, is inclusive. So usually if I have a klal uprat and a generalization and a specific, then the specific limits the generalization. But if I have it the opposite, I have the specific and then the generalization, so it's coming to add on to the specific. What it would be coming to add exactly what we got out from the from what we excluded from the first part. What's it? I'm sorry. So I wouldn't be learning anything. So what would be the point? You're trying to exclude the heichal from as the sanctuary from thoughts of Muslim kaimai. If he thinks that he's going to eat it or sprinkle the blood in the heichal, you would say, "Oh, that's out of its allotted place." You'd say, "No, it's actually coming to include." So therefore, we have to have it not from the pasuk, which teaches me Muslim kaimai. We have it in the pasuk in Parshas Kadeshim Tiyu, which teaches me over there. Oh, you see the pasuk in Parshas Tzav says pigel, and pigel would be the generalization which follows after. And so I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to have that in Parshas Kadeshim Tiyu. So then I'll have just the exclusion of the heichal. Okay.
Just to cancel each other out.
It would cancel each other out if it would be from Parshas Tzav. He's asking, why do you need it Parshas Kadeshim Tiyu? Why do we need it in the later pasuk? We have it already in the first pasuk. So the first pasuk would cancel each other out. So we need it in the second pasuk. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. Start in a brisa. Pasuk says, "V'im heyachol yechel mi b'sar zavach shlamav." If it will be eaten from the, if you will eat from the sacrifice. Amar Rabbi Lazar, kaif oznachol l'shmaya. Bend your ear to listen. It's talking about someone that thinks that he's going to eat the sacrifice on the third day. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Oh, maybe it's talking about if he actually eats it on the third day. What are you telling me? I mean, he's thinking that he's going to eat it on the third day. The pasuk says if he will eat it on the third day. Maybe it's talking about if he actually eats it on the third day, which would be out of the allotted time. He says no. Amrit. What's the conclusion of that pasuk? Not that the person that eats it gets punished, but it says lo yiratza. It's not a good carbon. And second, it was a good carbon before. Later on, retroactively, the carbon becomes puzzle. After it was already a satisfactory carbon, you did everything. You sprinkled the blood. What are we going to say now? Because something happened later, it's going to go back and retroactively cancel out the carbon. It can't be. It must be based on this logic that we're not talking about someone that brought the carbon properly. We're talking about someone that had thoughts of eating it out of the allotted time at the time that he brought it. And that's why the carbon isn't good. There's no retroactive here. It's at the time of bringing the carbon, it was already possible because he had thoughts of eating it out of the allotted time. So it says if it's eaten out of the allotted time, it doesn't mean actually eaten. It means he had thoughts of eating it.
When's the allotted time?
So if it's a kachi kachim, it's only a day and a night. And if it's kachi kalim, it's 2 days and a night. By carbon shlama would be the third day. By kachi kachim would be thinks about eating it
So it's
even
not
even
shechting
tomorrow.
on the third day.
Right. While he's shechting it now, he's thinking of eating it on the third day, sprinkling the blood tomorrow. Yeah, the thoughts enough. So if it's the pigel is only the thoughts of out of the allotted time, not out of the allotted days. This is a case of pigel, yeah. What the Mishnah calls pigel. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Do we ever have such a thing where something was originally kosher and then it becomes pasul later?" Rabbi Akiva says, "Yes, we do. Hein? Yes. Matzina b'zav v'shmer shem kineged yom shem b'cheskas tara kivan shiro sasro. Afat al tatam hazeh shal pishuch shoshiachs b'yifsal." So that's not such a problem because there's a concept of shemer shem kineged yom or seseres shiva. What happens is at certain times someone that's impure, whether it's a zav or a zava, or a shemer shem kineged yom, which is a type of zava, they have to wait the either 7 clean days or they have to wait the following day to see if they're going to be pure. If they go to the mikveh the following day, and before nightfall they see dam or they see whatever emission what is impurifying them, then it retroactively cancels the mikveh. It's as if they were never really pure. It goes back and cancels everything. So the b'cheskas tara, they went to the mikveh. It looks like everything's good. Then they see later, we say no, everything is invalid. The whole mikveh, everything goes off. So if that's the case, we could say the same thing here, that everything is good, and then later on, he eats it on the third day. It cancels everything backwards. Amarlei or Amarlai.
In these cases, is it like pending till it's checked again, or is it
Pending? So Rabbi Eliezer says back, Oimer Hamakriv. Says Makriv say the one that brings it, Lo Yiratze will not be an appeasement. Shasakrava hu nifsal ben nifsal b'shlishi. So Rabbi Eliezer learns from the word Hamakriv, which means bringing it, which means at the time of bringing it. The time of bringing it, it's already not an appeasement, which tells me that we're not dealing with something that's happening later. We're dealing with something that's happening right now at the time that he's bringing it, which means that it's all in the thought. It's the thought of the third day which invalidates it. Okay. Rabbi Lezer throws in just another thought over here. I shouldn't say thought because that sounds like we're dealing with the kind of thinking. Yeah, it throws in another idea that there's a possibility that maybe Hamakr Vaisai La Yiratzer La Yechashev means that it invalidates the Kayan, that if the Kayan does this, the Kayan himself becomes invalid. And don't worry about that, because it says it will become Makr Vaisai, the one that brings it. So it's talking about the it, not the Kayan. It's talking about the item, not the person. So you don't have to worry about the Kayan becoming invalid because he brought a carbon with the wrong thought. And Azay says, Oisai ma Talmud Laimar. What is the word Oisai teaching us? Which Rabbi Eliezer just said that the word Oisai was telling me, it's talking about that the carbon is pasul and not the Kayan becoming pasul. So, but Benazai says, Oisai ma Talafishin Emerle Sachel Shalma Yachalaf Machanidri Bela Yiratza Tamalai Mersai, Say Bela Yiratza Vena Machanidri Bela Yiratza. If someone takes a vow that he's going to bring a nether, that he's going to bring a carbon. He takes a nether, that he makes a nether that he's going to bring a carbon. So he has a certain amount of time to bring it. 3 holidays, right? It's after the 3 holidays, considered that he delayed and he's late. You should not delay paying, and there's a violation there. So he could have thought that maybe if he delays after the time, a lot of time, he's going to bring the sacrifice as pasul. Maybe it's pasul. Says no, it's not pasul. You're just late. It's not pasul. So
pink slip?
all right. So The carbon that with the wrong thoughts is possible, but the guy that delays and comes late, he brings it late after the 3 months, after not 3 months, after 3 holidays. It's not layiratza. It's not like it's not going to be an appeasement. It's just a violation of the vow because you said you were going to bring it, you didn't bring it, so that's considered a delaying, but it's still considered a good carbon.
How bad is it?
It's not good.
Bring it late.
Yeah, but it doesn't invalidate the sacrifice. That's our point.
What does it mean?
We're going to see later. It says it's someone that doesn't keep his vows. Look, turn the page. I don't want to say it, but turn the page. You see the Taisvus Ella.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. So, okay, that's Benazai. Benazai uses Isai. Others say, Lo Yechashiv. Oh yeah, so you mentioned about delaying, that if someone took a pledge on the Yom Tovim, they should pay it right away. This is a paid advertisement.
That would not.
Well, however the arrangement is, but not some to delay. Sometimes someone gets an aliyah, so people that were makbid on Motzei Shabbos, they would pay it.
No, but I'm talking about
over the years because people.
Yom Tov pledges are taking the big. No one ever has those.
Right. So they take that's the Chatchila understood that they're taking it to pay over the year, 10 years. In the Shulam Bal Harbor, they would have pledges that you could pay over 10 years. Yeah, exactly. So others say, who's the others? Usually, if it's not a brisa, if it would be a mishnah, others would be Reb Meir. But in a brisa, it's not so clear that it's Reb Meir. When it says lo yechashev, it will not be considered or not be counted. The word lo yechashev also means thought. It means that it's becoming puzzle with thought. And it's not becoming puzzle on the third day. It's becoming puzzle with the thoughts right now, that you had thoughts of eating it on the third day, but not literally on the third day. Now the Gemara goes back to discuss. Benazai, we concluded the brisa, now we're going back to explain. Benazai, the bezebach hakasam medaber ve'ina bekayan minalei. Rabbi Eliezer took the word Isai, and he said that Isai teaches me that we're not dealing with the kayan. We're dealing with the sacrifice. The kayan's not becoming puzzle. The sacrifice is not. The sacrifice is becoming puzzle, not the kayan. Comes along Benazai and takes the word Isai to tell me that it's only the invalid carbon that's invalid, not the person that delays the carbon should be invalid. Where does he get that from? Isai. So how does he know that Isai is talking about the carbon and not the kayan? Because he uses Isai to teach me something else. So if he used it already, then he spent it, and he can't use it to teach me that it's only the sacrifice. So the Gemara says, two options. One option for Benazai is, how does he know that it's only the carbon and not the kayan? One option is because achirim, the others say that lo yechashev tells me that b'machshavahu nifsal v'en nifsal b'shlishi, that I had a possibility that maybe it means that it's puzzle on the third day. Comes along lo yechashev to tell me it's not puzzle on the third day, it's puzzle already now. But there was an option of reading this Gemara, reading this pasuk, that it would be puzzle literally, because on the third day it became puzzle. Now, that would only be possible if we're dealing with the sacrifice, not with the kayan. There's no question that Noisar, leaving a carbon over, would not invalidate the kayan. It would only be the wrong thoughts that could possibly invalidate the kayan. So, since from the fact that I need to make a drasha to tell me that it's not dealing with actually the third day, it's dealing with the thoughts. So then that would tell me that without that drasha, I would have had it would have been actually the third day, which means that it cannot be talking about the fact that I need the drasha. It cannot be talking about the kayin. It can only be talking about the carbon. You could ask on that. But now that I have the drasha, maybe it's talking about, right? We're not doing that. Anyway, the Ibayasema, there's other teretz that says it uses the word in the pasuk la yirata, will not be an appeasement. That's a term that's used for a carbon. That's not a term that's used for a kayin. Don't say that we could say the kayin becomes invalid, but we don't say that the kayin is not an appeasement. Appeasement is a term that's used for the gift that's given to Hashem. It will not be an appeasement. We don't. But we're saying that how do we know that the kayin doesn't become invalid? Maybe the pasuk means that the kayin becomes invalid.
That's what's about kayin and hevel. What does it say? Pasuk about vel minchasa lo
sha'a. And
we get it, but still the concept is it's not hevel or kayin. It was the mincha.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the person that was.
Is this the case that is where they would bring the offering, then the person would receive the atonement, but then the one wouldn't be able to have benefit from it?
No. That was something else. That was if the blood was put in the wrong place, top or on bottom or on top.
Here,
They're talking about where the thoughts of and he's going to either apply the blood, or he's going to eat it, or he's going to burn it, are out of the allotted time. The carbon becomes invalid. If someone eats from this meat, he gets kares. There's no atonement. Okay. The other option is, okay, so we give the two options here, what he does with the word, not what he does with the word, but how, since he used the word Isai, how does he know that it's only referring to the carbon, not to the kain? We said that Benazai holds that if a person delays his carbon, the carbon is still satisfactory. So, and where did we learn that from? We learned it from Isai. Over here, the carbon is invalid, but if someone delays the carbon, it would be yes valid. He says he learns it from here. He learns it from Achirim. He learns it from another place. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Achirim Maimrim. Others say, Yachal Yehi Bechor Shibir Shanasai. Possibly, I could think that maybe a firstborn animal that once the year passes. Remember, we said it says Lefnei Hashem Techlanu Shana B'Shana, that it should be eaten in front of Hashem year by year, which means that you only have 1 year to bring it. So, Ibrish Nasi, if the year passed, Kipsulim Mikdashim, we should say that it's considered invalid, B'Yifsal, like as if it got a mum. Talmud Laimar V'Chalta Lefnei Hashem Alikecha Ma'aser Degancha. Ma'aser Degancha Teresh V'Trecha B'Cheres B'Charcha B'Tzinach, whatever. Over there it says, Makish B'Chor L'Ma'aser, we have a comparison. B'chor to the Meiser, Ma Meiser in a Nifsal Mishana L'Chaverta, B'chor in a Nifsal Mishana L'Chaverta. Just like Meiser, you have 3 years to bring it to Yerushalayim. So too, you have time, even after the first year, you have time to bring the Meiser Behema as well. And it doesn't become invalid like as if there was a mum. So we're saying now that delaying the sacrifice after 3 months does not invalidate it. So we have another source. We have Achirim. Why are you telling me that he learns it from Isai, that it doesn't become possible? We have it another source. We have it from Bechar. So Gemara says Yitzchak. He needs both sources. I could have thought that maybe when it comes to a carbon that's being delayed, because that delay does not affect any appeasement, any atonement that the person needs. It's just the firstborn animal. There's no atonement to the person. Aval Kodshim Dimnei Artzanin, when it comes to the sacrifices, which are an atonement for the person. So then, I could think that maybe they become invalid when you delay. Hey, you're looking for an atonement and now you show up late. So, Kamash Malana comes to teach me that even by those atonements, I say that only the sacrifice with the wrong thoughts is going to be invalid, but coming late is not invalid. Okay, Kamash Malana. And we learned from Isaiah, we have another source. It says that if you delay, it says there'll be in you a sin, but there won't be in the carbon a sin. It means the carbon will still be valid. It says, Ben Azai uses this to tell me that if a person delays, it's not considered like he violates the vow. What happens when someone violates a vow? There's a punishment on his wife, as we're going to see in a second. It says, but here when he delays, it's not considered a full violation. It's just considered a delay. I could have entered your mind to say, oh, since Rabbi Lazar says Vitim Rabbi Yechanan, some say it's Rabbi Yechanan, when does a person's wife die? That's when they're asking money from him. And what type of money? Because he stole and he's not paying back. He doesn't have the money to pay back. If you don't have peace, why are you taking your pillow from under you, which means your wife? I could have thought that maybe when a person delays his sacrifice, his wife also dies. Kamash Malan says no, that it's only referring to if he steals and he doesn't have money to pay back. Yeah. Taisvus adds in that it's referring to taking a vow and not going to Taisvus. It would be if someone never fulfills his vow, or he violates the vow. It's not considered a violation; it's considered delaying. That's what. Yeah.
Cured two problems: a problem and strong price problem. Man came to the rabbi with a big issue, and the rabbi told him, "Okay, look, if you vow to take a big tzedakah thing, and you don't pay it, wife, it was kaddish." And then he said, "Okay," so he did the vow, stuff, and then it wasn't working. So he went back to the rabbi and said, "No, you have to treat her like a wife. You can't take her out. You have to treat her nice. These things." So then after a while, he came back to the rabbi and said, "Like, well, like I don't like I need her. Like I love her. Like all these things." And then, but I have a problem. Like, vow that I took, and so okay. So then pay the vow and keep your vow.
It's cute. It's there.
Why is it fear that they will kill the wife?
I don't know.
It's too weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Why it's you hear the problem? So when he wanted to get rid of his wife, so he takes a big vow and he doesn't pay it. That was the whole story.
So then the mafia goes, says, "I'll kill you."
Okay. So where are we holding? Others say, "Machshava nifsal ben nifsal b'shlishi." The others said in the back in the first price, so we said that when it says lo yichashev, it says that it's when used the word lo yichashev will not be counted, will not be considered. That it's coming to teach me that it's not that he's delaying, he's waiting 3 days before he eats it. That would be nicer. Here we're talking about it's the thoughts of Pigel. It becomes possible with the thoughts, not but they actually 3 days. That was Achirim. Rabbi Eliezer, that he learned it from Hamakriv. He says Hamakriv, that it becomes possible now because of the person that's bringing it now, not coming later. So what does he do with La Yechashev, which Achirim used to teach me that it's becoming possible now because of the thoughts? So he says, Mi Baile Lek de Rabbi Yanai. He uses it for what Rabbi Yanai is taught. The Rabbi Yanai is the teacher of Rabbi Yechanan, right? Which is later than Rabbi Eliezer, but nevertheless, it would be in tradition. Minayin lamachshav shemitzias zu mizu shnema la yechashev It says like this. We learned before that the only time it becomes pigul is if you only have thoughts of pigul, everything else has to be correct. But if you mess it up in other ways, then it won't even be pigul. It's messed up for other reasons. Yeah, you can't mix in other thoughts. Le'yachashev means you can't mix in other thoughts. Rav Mari Masni, Rav Mari taught it differently. Amar Rav Yanai says, how do we know that someone that has the wrong thoughts by a sacrifice gets malchus? Talmud says you're not allowed to think. Lo yechashiv, don't think that. Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Mari. Rashi says to me, 1 second. Malchus, lashes. Lavshim be maisu. Lashes only come if there's an action. We learned from Gemara Makas, right? It can only be with a lavsh masay, right? An action. Not a lavshim be maisa. Here it's a lavshim maisa. It's just thinking. Lavshim maisa and liking love. Amar lei. So Rav Mari responded to Rav Ashi. He says, Rabbi Yehudi damar lavshim be maisa liking love. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that says that there's lashes even for a lav shem b'maisa. Yeah. Okay. So that's his tradition of what Rabbi Mari was teaching. We have a new Mishnah. And this is actually I think we started over here.
During class.
In 7 years ago, I think this is where we started. Or at least this is where I went back to. Yeah. Because this is the last mission of the parak, and I actually started before the conclusion of the parak. Okay, this is the rule. We mentioned this Mishnah before. Earlier, we mentioned that we have another Mishnah coming up that has a Zeh HaKlal, right? The rule goes like this: Kol HaSheichet, anyone that slaughters, V'Amakabel, and the Vav over here means or he receives the blood, V'Amahalech, or he walks the blood, V'Hazerik, or he sprinkles the blood. Lechel davar shadark lechel, intention to eat something which is meant to be eaten, which is talking about the flesh. Lahakter davar shadark lahakter, to offer something on the altar, which is meant to be offered on the altar, which is referring to the limbs or the organs. Kazayas chutzam kaimai. One kazayas has thoughts of out to eat it out of the allotted place or to burn it out of the Beis Hamikdash. Then pasal ve'im bekaris. It's pasal. Sacrifice is invalid, but there's no karis there because it's chutzam kaimai. It's not chutz l'zmanei. Karis only comes to chutz l'zmanei. And karis, by the way, is not talking about the thoughts of the kayin. Karis is talking about the person that would then go ahead and eat the sacrifice. Chutz l'zmanei. If he has thoughts for that kazayas to eat it or burn it out of its allotted time, means tomorrow or the next day, then pigul v'chayav al karis, that becomes pigul and is chayv karis.
You said the hamakabel is or?
Yeah.
What about mahalach v'azara?
Or. Yeah, you see Rashi is that now. Oizu. But Bilvad, that we throw in this teaching that we had before, just right before the Mishnah, Bilvad sheyakar b'matik mitzvasi, as long as the blood was sprinkled properly. Because if you mess it up with sprinkling the blood in the wrong way, then it becomes puzzle in other ways, and it won't become pigul. Kate said kara b'matik mitzvasi. Give me an example. You do everything else correctly. What would that case be? Well, shachat b'shtika. If he shachs b'shtika. Shtika means silent, which means he doesn't have any thoughts of chutzim kaimai.
Does that mean that you have to elucidate verbally, normally, your intent?
So I want to tell you something about that because that's a machlokes. So machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. If when we talk about thoughts, we're talking about thoughts, or we're talking about speech. and it was somewhere before over here.
Maybe.
Second. Just give me 1 second.
Before we mentioned that the thoughts was speech.
Yeah. Before I mentioned that the speech was thoughts.
Yeah, so what's equal speech?
No,
No?
just 1 second.
That's wrong. Anything.
When you start to do writing, so it's already.
B'shtika, okay. Consciousness and b'shtika. B'shtika, Rashi says, clearly means thoughts. Yeah. Without thought. B'shtika means without thought. And silence means that his brain is silent, not his mouth is silent. Yeah. Okay. We're saying that the thoughts, when it comes to sacrifices, according to Rashi, the thoughts are the same. So shachat b'shtika, he shechs without any thoughts that would invalidate it, and then kibul b'halach v'zarek chutz l'zmani, and then he goes and he does one of those other services with thoughts of chutz l'zmani. Shachat chutz l'zmani v'kibul b'halach. I should tell you that there is machlekes between the Rebbe and his father about this. If someone can consecrate with thought, the Rebbe proves it in the letters between the Rebbe's father's letters. Yeah, it's another room. But the Rebbe's father wrote to him about. He wrote to his father about Rashi that says that you can separate truma and thought. The Rebbe's father says it doesn't mean thought; it means speech. And he said that you can separate it in thought, which would allow you to eat everything else because the truma has been separated. But it doesn't mean that it's become consecrated with thought. It just means that it's separated, which allows everything else. Consecration itself would require speech. And he told him, if you learn better, you'll understand. And he has proofs. The Rebbe's father has proofs. Anyway, the Rebbe didn't accept what his father said. And later on, we have letters from the Rebbe where he wrote that there's 4 levels of thought. And one of them is, it's a later letter, even after his father. One of them is the thought that it becomes consecrated. Things become consecrated, but just with thought. Yeah.
Like the Diburim, the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Yeah, at the beginning of the
yeah, that's the famous.
Yeah. So thank you for thinking about me.
Yeah.
Talks about the flood. Like before Hashem said that he was going to give a flood, he planned out he was going to save humans to Noah because
No, Hillel, to speak up. We can't hear him.
like, once
You
like,
can be
someone
here.
says something, it's like concrete. It's much harder to change. Right?
1 second.
Before he said that he was going to make the flood, he already had planned he was going to save the humans through Noah. Sons.
Okay.
Because if he would have done the opposite, it would have been harder. Because once after the speech, what it said is harder to change.
Oh, so okay. The thoughts had. Okay.
That's
So,
a
yeah, you're
procedure.
saying Hill is stressing that speech is stronger than thought, right? This is more concrete. Yeah.
Good for Hashem,
Okay.
that could change it.
Right. This is bringing out how the thoughts are still powerful. This is like the opposite idea. Okay. Or maybe he did the opposite. Over here, when he shechted it, he had the thoughts of chutz l'zmani, right? It was invalid.
How can you say speech is greater than thought by Hashem? Say self of Maseches Zavachim Daf, but and Masa is stronger than Dibur. So that doesn't, it's not supported.
Okay, you're mixing everything. It's one cholent. Okay. Kibel v'halach v'zarek b'shtika, or and then he concluded it b'shtika without thoughts, right? Aisha shachad v'kibel v'halach v'zarek chutz l'zmani, or he did everything just chutz l'zmani, so there's no other thoughts in there, right? Aisha shachad v'kibel v'halach v'zarek chutz zeu shemakir b'matik mitzvasi. This would be examples of someone that brings the dam properly, and the only one invalidation was that one thought, or all the thought of all the one thing of that it was out of the allotted time. Ketzad like harav hamatik mitzvasi? What would be a case where it won't be considered that everything was done properly? Shachat chutzim kaimai. By the chutzim kaimai, he does the shchita. He does it by the shchita. He has thoughts of chutzim kaimai. He's going to sprinkle the blood out of the allotted place, or burn it out of the blood, or eat it out of the blood. And then kibul b'halach v'zarek chutzim zmani. And then the next part of the sacrifice, where he receives the blood and sprinkles the blood, he has thoughts over there of chutzim zmani out of the allotted time. Or the opposite. First he starts over out of the allotted time, and then he goes and he sprinkles the blood chutzim kaimai. Or he has thoughts entirely of chutzim kaimai. Skip the word Osmani. I don't know why they take that out. Pesa. Okay, those are all cases where it was not done correctly. Pesa v'achatas sheshachtan shlei lishman. Or another case, where the carbon pesach or carbon chatas we know is it needs to be done for the right sacrifice. If you try to change the sacrifice when thought from a carbon pesach or carbon chatas, the first Mishnah in the Masechta, that would invalidate a carbon pesach or a carbon chatas. Other sacrifices not, but this would invalidate. So carbon pesach, carbon chatas, sheshachtan shlei lishman, you had intention for a different sacrifice at the shchita. Then v'kibel v'halach v'zarek chutz l'zmani, and then he goes and he sprinkles the blood out of the allotted time. With thoughts about it. Or maybe he did it the opposite. The shchita was chutz l'zmani, and the Kabbalah and the Zrika and the Halacha was for a different sacrifice. Or maybe he did everything for the different sacrifice. Those are all cases where it doesn't become pigul, because the matir, the dam, which is the matir, which allows it to be satisfactory, that was not done properly. Let's say he has intention to eat one kazayas outside and to eat one kazayas tomorrow, so he has two improper thoughts. Yeah, an olive size of meat for this and an olive size of meat for that. Kazayas l'machar, kazayas b'chutz, or maybe he did it in the opposite order. A kazayas for tomorrow and a kazayas for outside. He has thoughts of half a zayas outside and half a zayas for tomorrow. We said that combines. We learned from the pasuk that they will combine b'chutz and outside and tomorrow. It's possible in bekar, so we'll combine, but all of those cases no karis, because he had other thoughts in there which are not just chutz l'zmani. Amar Rabbi Yehuda comes along and argues. He says, Zeh haklal, I'll tell you a different rule. Kol shemachshavas hazman kadma lemachshavas hamakim, pigul v'chevon al karis. If the thoughts of the time, out of the allotted time, came first, then once you invalidate it, it's invalid. It's pigul. However, v'machshavas hamakim kadma lemachshavas hazman, pasul ein bekars. But if the thoughts of out of the allotted place come first, then it becomes invalid because of chutzim kaimai. Then it never becomes pigul afterwards of chutz l'zmani. So in other words, according to Rabbi Yehuda, according to the Tanna Kama in this Mishnah, we were saying that you can take away pigul by having improper thoughts later. You started off with the worst possibility. Started off with the shchita was chutz l'zmani. You had thoughts by the shchita that you're going to sprinkle the blood tomorrow. It becomes pigul. According to the Tanna Kama, when it comes to sprinkling the blood, which you're doing 2 minutes later, you have thoughts of chutz l'kaimai, that you're going to sprinkle it or burn it out of the allotted place, out of the appropriate place. That's going to correct what you had thoughts before by the shchita, and it's not going to become pigul. You're going to take it away. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you can never correct it later on. It's only if you had first thoughts of chutz l'kaimai, then you can't mess it up later. But chutz l'zmani.
How can you sprinkle it a day or two later, 3 days later, if it's coagulated? There's nothing to sprinkle.
You're going to stir it with the zhuzha.
Did you have
It is
I
onomatopoeia.
know.
It's like the back book they taught us in kindergarten, right?
Bottom.
The bottle. So, Zaklal. Okay. Chachamim Aimrim. Chacham say Zeb Pasavim because Chacham argue. They say no. Even if you come later, and after you already had thoughts of Chutz Lizmani, you have thoughts of Chutz Kaimai, it's going to correct it. Lechal kechatzi zayis lahakte kechatzi zayis. This is an interesting one. We said that Chutz Lizmani and Chutz Kaimai combine. Half a zayis of this, half a zayis of this would be enough to make it possible, right? What about half a zayis is to eat in the wrong time, and half a zayis is to burn on the outside of the altar. It's kosher she'ein achila v'akdara mitzdarfen. Even though they're both consumption, but it's different types of consumption. One is consumption of the body, and another one is consumption of the fire. Fire consumed it, right? Combustion, not consumption, right? Okay. Next Gemara is will take us to. It's going to be hard to stop in the middle of the next piece. Let's leave it. We'll have to learn after Shabbat. We'll learn on Sunday.
What?
On Sunday.
Just started.
Told you should have been here.
Oh, from Moshe Druin is saying that you should have been there. All people.
Yes, yeah, you in town?
I'm on the way to the airport.
Oh.
Have a safe flight.
I see. David said it depends on whose thought. Yeah, that's true. So far, David wrote. So far, we're only learning about the Kayan's thought. We didn't mention the owner's thought, though. That's a discussion about if the owner can affect the validity as well. It's a discussion. Okay. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.